Okay, so we're on an island containing two types of people, knights who always tell the truth and knaves who always lie. We're visiting the island and have the following encounters with natives. So we have two natives, A and B. A says both of us are knights, and B says A is a knave. We're going to start by supposing something. We have to believe something to start. We're going to take a premise, believe it, see where it leads us, what logical conclusion it leads us to. So I'm going to start by believing A. So let's suppose A is a knight. Okay, we're going to believe A means A is a knight. Okay, then that means A tells the truth. It must be that A and B are both knights. Because if A is a knight, then we can believe what they say, and they said that they're both knights. Okay. But B says that A is a knave. Which means B is lying. And therefore, B is a knave. Okay, so we have a contradiction. We have a contradiction because B has been identified as both a knight and a knave. Okay, the symbol for contradiction is the two arrows facing each other. Okay, so B cannot be both knight and knave. Okay. So our supposition at the very beginning led to a contradiction. So we supposed A was a knight. That led to a contradiction. So it must be that A is a knave. Okay. And if A is a knave, that means that B is telling the truth, so B is a knight. Okay, so A is a knave, B is a knight in this one. Okay, so now we're approached by two other natives, C and D. Only C speaks. C says both of us are knaves, and we're supposed to figure out what C and D are. So we only have one person who we could temporarily believe. Okay, so C is the only person who's spoken to us. We're going to say, okay, well, all right, let's see what has to be true if you're telling the truth. Okay, so we're going to suppose both C and D are knaves. Okay, we're going to believe you for a moment. So that means C is lying, right? If C is a knave, then they lied to us, in which case we have a contradiction, okay? If we suppose they're both knaves, that means that C is lying and they are not both knaves. In fact, it must be that C is a knave though, okay? Because if C is telling the truth, it's impossible that C is telling the truth, right? Because if C were telling the truth, we get a contradiction. And if C is lying, that makes C a knave. So the only option is C must be a knave. Okay. And if C is a knave, that means that this statement is a lie. And the only way this statement could be a lie is if D is a knight. Okay, we have encountered two new natives, E and F. They both claim that the other is a knave. So E says F is a knave, F says E is a knave. So there's a couple of different options. I don't know who to believe. I'm going to assume they're both knaves, okay? So if we believe both of them, right? So we're just going to say, well, maybe you're both knaves. Suppose E and F are both knaves. That means they're both lying. Okay? And if they're both lying, that means that they're actually both knights. Right? Because the opposite of their statement, E says F is a knave, and if E is a knave, that means F is a knight. F says E is a knave, but if E is a knave, that means F is a knight. And if F is a knave, that means E is a knight. Okay? So we have a contradiction. They can't both be knaves. If they're both knaves, that means they're both lying and both are knights. Contradiction. Okay? So they can't both be knaves. Okay, what if they're both knights? Suppose E and F are both knights. Okay, that means they're both telling the truth. And they are both saying that the other is a knave, which means that they're both knaves. We have another contradiction. They can't be both knights and both be knaves. Okay, so we have another contradiction. This is not possible. They're not both knaves. They're not both knights. Okay, so that means that there has to be one of them is a knave and one is a knight. We can't tell which one, but luckily they didn't ask us. They said, how many knaves are there? So it's impossible that they're both knaves, impossible that they're both knights. So it must be one is a knave and one is a knight.